There is nothing wrong with your radio.
Do not attempt to adjust the volume.
We are controlling the broadcast.
For the next hour we will control all that you hear.
You are about to experience the knowledge and insights of the Media Mothership.
All right, welcome to Media Mothership here on Edge Radio, broadcasting as always out of Nipaluna, Hobart, Tasmania. On this show we explore everything that shapes our understanding through media of the world around us. I'm your host, Dr. Craig, joined again by Lord Taylor.
Customary salutations.
Yes. And you can enjoy us via streaming on edgeradio.org.au or via YouTube and Twitch. You can just find us by searching Media Mothership. And you can message us via the chat on YouTube or Twitch or SMS us on... Should I say that number? Have we got the SMS up on the screen?
Having a look.
Okay, we'll get it up shortly.
Hopefully.
048888 11707. So on today's show, we're going to be looking at radio dramas. Last week, we ended with the cliffhanger announcement of our own deep experimental AI dabblings. So since then, we've created two very short chapters or segments of a Harry Potter AI fanfic. Harry Potter AI fanfic.
And we've also got the SMSs up as well.
Oh, great. Yeah. So getting some great messages coming through.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yes, we're going to play experimental Harry Potter AI fanfic voiced by some wonderful AI voices. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to play Glenn Gare's theory of 6 essential questions to ask all storytelling to see if the AI created... I'm going to go out and call them abominations straight away.
That's true.
Creative works that have been produced stand up to it. And then we're actually going to listen to a classic bit of 1950s radio drama, the opening scene from Orson Welles' The Hitchhiker as delivered on the Suspense radio anthology. So
looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be very exciting. So keep listening. Edge Radio 99.3 FM, Media Mothership. Oh, why is that so loud? I thought I plugged it in. Anyway, this is us still, and so on Media Mothership. Oh, maybe I've just not put the volume up very loud there. Yeah, and of course, the next thing we're going to be listening to are some exciting parts of. Slightly better.
It's slightly better, isn't it?
Yeah. So low.
That's very, very quiet.
Oh, yeah. I think I know why. There we go. I had the volume down. So now I'm going to play the stinger. This is not AI produced. This is very human, fallible produced. So yeah. Coming up next, we're going to be listening to The Hitchhiker, Orson Welles. Keep listening, Edge Radio.
That's how it's done.
Yeah. All right, welcome back. This is Media Mothership here on Edge Radio 99.3, and what I want to do to set this up is just play a little bit of the scriptwriter Glenn Gare's talking about the 6 essential questions to ask all writing. Now, Glenn Gares is a full-time professional writer of movies and TV for the last 25 years, and he came up with this theory of 6 questions to ask. I'm going to set it up by playing a little bit from the Film Courage YouTube interview they did with him, asking him about how he defines story and 6 essential questions, and then we're going to go into some of the AI material and the Hitchhiker.
Story, and how do you teach it to clients and students?
I think the basic idea of a story is going to be that you are following a character or characters. It is entirely possible to tell a story of multiple characters. You don't only have to tell one person's story. It's nice, you can do it, but it's also possible to tell a story with 11 main characters. It takes a lot of work. You have to follow each main character and follow their story all the way through the narrative. But in fact, I believe any story is really about how a character trying to accomplish something runs into other people who either help or harm their intention. It's sort of like Isaac Newton's theory of the billiard balls, that they once they get set in motion, they will roll in that same direction because they're being pushed by a physical force. And I think a character is also doing that. They're trying to get somewhere and they're rolling in a certain direction until either they hit something or something comes along and knocks into them, and then that changes their direction. But they're still trying to get to that one place.
All right, so just to pause it there. So what Glenn's saying is that the essential component of a story are characters interacting with other characters.
Mm-hmm.
And he uses the anecdote of billiard balls. You know, when you get your billiard ball stick and you hit a billiard ball and it hits other balls, as is the intention of playing billiards.
And ricochets off.
Yeah, ricochets off. He's saying that's exactly the kind of dynamics that can create really interesting stories of characters bouncing off of other characters. So mainly the 6 questions that he asks of a story are all centered around characters.
Okay.
So let's keep that in mind. So we'll skip forward a little bit as he talks about what the 6 key aspects are of this. So joining back here with his interview about how to define a story.
Center of their story. And this person coming up to them is either getting in their way or they're trying to charm them or whatever it is that they're doing, they're trying to do something. And that interchange is the basic building blocks of story. That's what you call dramatic action. Someone trying to accomplish something which mostly involves interacting with other people. Sometimes the action can be, I have to take this suitcase and put it on a train, whatever, but there'll still be, I have a thing I'm trying to accomplish, and that's what story is. I have a thing I am trying to accomplish. I am a character and I need to get this thing, and it will be a more interesting story if there's something in the way.
Yep. So again, all we're doing is trying to understand the building blocks of storytelling so we can have a look at what the AI did to story. So he said, yeah, the building block is a character wanting to do something and maybe something gets in their way as a kind of basic premise. So let's go back to here because we're building up to these exciting 6 questions that we'll ask in a second.
If I am a character, I'm trying to put a suitcase on a train, and I go and I put it on the train and nothing happens, it's a very short, boring story. If they're carrying a suitcase and another person comes and they steal the suitcase, it's more of an interesting story. And it's a more interesting story if that person's got something important in the suitcase. If it's just a suitcase, they can say, oh, somebody stole it. Oh, well, I'll go get another one. Not that strong a story. Every story is about a character trying to accomplish something and having an obstacle. And what they do, what action they take in the face of the obstacles, is your story.
Yeah. So there we have the idea of character wanting to do something and obstacles come up. And yeah, so we could apply that to the idea of, a villain appears, you got the protagonist, our hero, and then the antagonist is the villain. So like any film.
Yeah.
Would put like the Avengers are wanting to
avenge.
And Thanos is the villain, basically stopping our heroes from getting through. All right, so again, breaking down the key aspects of it. Well, let's listen to what he considers the first key question to ask. So here's his first key question.
Okay. Who is it about? What do they want? Why can't they get it? What do they do about that? Why doesn't that work? And how does it end?
Sorry, that was all the questions. So that's his 6 questions, right? Who is it about? What do they want? Why can't they get it? What do they do about that? Why doesn't that work? And how does it end? What do you think about those 6 questions? Do you reckon the AI would hold up to each one of those questions?
Well, it would definitely do who is it about, because there's characters that are sort of all throughout the entire thing. What do they want? Probably not. It probably wouldn't have anything even resembling that. There's no sort of like internal logic behind it.
We can hear his definition of that. So let's hear what Glenn defines the what do they want segment as, and then we might listen to our AI.
Somebody wants something. When you just read that, a part of you thought, I wonder if they're going to get it. You don't know what they want. You don't know who they are. They don't even have a name. It doesn't matter. As soon as we know that somebody wants something, we think, what's going to happen? The magic words, the thing that makes you turn the page or stay tuned. It's an automatic human response to, what do they want? I like to call this the objective, but you can call it the need or the goal. It doesn't matter what you call it. What's important is they have to want a specific thing. It can be an object, a box of money, or a bicycle, or an accomplishment to publish a news story, or get home, or stay on their feet after 15 rounds. It can be an event or an experience. They want their parent to show approval, or their love to accept a marriage proposal, or it can even be information. They want to know what happened to their sister. Now, yes, this narrow specific...
All right, well, look, I'm keen to start applying some of these ideas. Mm-hmm. So what we've done over the last week, well, not just over the last week, this has been a long process that you've been putting together for a while. What's the background to the Harry Potter AI fan fiction piece that we'll listen to next?
Well, it's just a AI-created piece of text which has been generated from the entire Harry Potter series. So it's got all characters that appear throughout the whole books and things like that. The AI's taken that information, generated a whole chunk of information. I'd say what's coming up has been probably me picking through maybe 15,000 words or something like that to make this.
All the Harry Potter books into... and what was the program you used?
The program that I used for this one was the TensorFlow. The
TensorFlow, and you were using a Linux Ubuntu operating system, a piece of equipment.
Yep.
And so you plugged in how many books? Like six books. It's up like you do the seven main core texts, and then you kind of got the software. It basically crunched through common patterns, character names. It was able to identify the logic in a way of Harry Potter, and then you iterated. You got it to because we were going through the process before, and you were saying that you can use a number of epochs.
That's true. Yes.
That measure the amount of time the software spends on developing its final piece of writing.
Yes, and the total amount of time that I can't remember what epoch it got up to, but the total amount of time that I trained this particular data set on the Harry Potter texts was, I think it ended up being around 11 months.
11 months. So cumulatively, the computer kind of was crunching through the Harry Potter books over a period of 11 months as it was developing and familiarizing and creating its... And what was its AI Harry Potter piece? What was the instructions you don't really... It wasn't really instructions per se? It was just a length of
It was just
text.
How much text do you want to spit out?
Yep.
And it was just a process of going through, trying to find something, trying to find a phrase that was good, and then keep searching, find another phrase that's good, smash it together, and there's your sentence.
And what was the number? What was the text size that you instructed it to produce?
I think because you can only output a certain number of characters and a certain number of words. I think because otherwise my computer would have blown up if I'd done any more than this. But I think I did probably around 2,000 words at a time.
Yep.
And then just continued outputting.
And then the final part of the assembly line, I guess, of producing what we're about to hear a short segment of, was you then going into the entire piece, as you say, 15,000 odd words, and sifting through there, trying to find gems, sifting through for gold.
That's
what
correct.
are the because a lot of it was nonsense, I imagine. A lot of it was just rambled speech of a madman. And so you were sifting through what are some really evocative, meaningful aspects, like sentences, quotes, terms, phrases, interactions.
The thing is, all of the text was in the generated text.
Yeah.
So even though I might have taken one word from somewhere, it was all within the text.
And in a way, you're probably maybe subconsciously asking Glenn 6 questions as you're reading through it. Who is this about? Like, I'm just reading this thing. Can I tell who this is about, this page of stuff? Can I tell what they're wanting to do? Like, is there that they say they want something, or is there a clear kind of weird thing they're suddenly wanting that's interesting? Is there something they can't get as like weirdly, like suddenly, and what do they do about it? As hilarious as their act is, it's like, what do they do about it? Well, they did something hilarious. I'll grab that for the masterpiece that I'm creating. And why doesn't that work? And how does it end? So there's not really, like, there's an end that you've given it here. But with the AI piece, it doesn't really end per se. It doesn't have a nice conclusion and they all lived happily ever.
It never ends. And a big part of it as well is that... Oh, I forgot what I was going to say. That's not a big part of it.
Because the AI is not really thinking in terms of these essential questions of story writing, right? The AI doesn't have those as its parameters. All it's doing is, okay, I've been fed the Harry Potter text. Okay, it looks like this is the most common types of combination of words and actions and verbs and nouns. I'm going to replicate that, and here are the nouns that I'm choosing here, and here's the verb, and here's the character I know appears a lot. It won't really possibly understand that the character they're suddenly putting in there is the villain or the hero, but they do, and then they give that villain certain actions, which again repeat what's in the Harry Potter text, but do it in a way which isn't artistic, we could say, but is just crudely kind of, yes, that's a sentence with words and nouns and verbs and adjectives.
I remember what I was going to say.
Yeah. Here we go.
There we go. A big part of it was fixing up grammar and different things like that. So a lot of the time it would say, and Harry Potter put down his glasses, said Harry, said Hagrid.
Okay. So you can say, okay, yeah, and you can read that and you think, okay, I know what I can do to make sense of this, that this is what Harry's saying, not Hagrid.
Yeah.
So you drop the Hagrid thing and probably the second mention of Harry saying it.
Henry. It's Henry.
And you're introducing your character. Right. So a lot of it is just grammatical inconsistencies, which again are probably produced because the computer has just looked at it as common arrangements of nouns and verbs and adjectives, has the basic parameters of what an English sentence is, and has replicated that, but it doesn't make sense because, yes, it's attributed one quote to people, and so, you clean that up. Wow. All right, so what we're about to listen to is, it's about 250 words. 200 words, and we've got two segments. We'll do the first one first. We'll do chapter 1. This is what was it titled? The Smashing.
It was chapter 1. Something pumpkins.
Smashing.
No, that's isn't that a band? Isn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, okay. So this is chapter 1, and what we'll do is we'll listen to this. Everyone will go into shock, trying to decipher it, and then we'll unpack it a little bit.
It was Screeching Pumpkins.
Screeching Pumpkins. So no copyright infringement there of an established American alternative band. All right, so here we go.
Chapter 1, Screeching Pumpkins. Harry, who was in a place, looked rather pale. The girls behind him shrieked as the Dementors burnt a circle of pumpkins. "Hi, Harry," said Hagrid, his bones full of scandalized pus. "What's up?" Harry dug his wand out of the bag he was wearing and flew to the dormitory in an explosion of color. Inside was a drowned chair, the dumbstruckle swung shut behind him and Ron looked bewildered. "I knew you would be here," Harry bellowed as Snape staggered up the stairs, his mouth blurry and full of gold coins. Harry picked up Hedwig's cage and aged 10 minutes. Then the windows started to scream as Dumbledore fell from the top of the curtains, winced at the Slytherin in the room and kicked him into the corridor. "Leave me alone," said Snape. Dumbledore bellowed and shot curses into the hall. Harry laughed at his hands, wiped his ears on a passing scarf and threw a bottle of furious GIT tonic to Ron, who caught it with his knees. "You're still in my bedroom, Dumbledore," said Harry. Dumbledore crashed through the window and flew into the night, with the intention of finding Voldemort and killing as many other people as he could. Harry straggled a laugh and practiced falling asleep. "What's the joke?" said Ron. "Ireland," shouted Mrs. Norris.
Island. Island, shouted Mrs. Norris. All right, so yeah, there we have it. So, wow. 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 So it seems like a lot of the characters aren't doing things which you would have like canon action.
You'd hope not.
Like, I guess it's Dumbledore is the most interesting to me in terms of. Well, let's break it down in terms of the. I mean, we spent some time building up, so let's break it down in terms of the 6 essential questions that Glenn Gares asked. So his first question is, who is this about? Who is this about? Taylor? Lord Taylor? Who is this? Who is the main character? Who's this about?
Who knows? It's about Harry, it's about Hagrid, it's about Snape who suddenly appears, Hedwig suddenly appears, Ron's a furious git, and Mrs. Norris suddenly appears in the final line.
So we do have, like, we've jammed a lot of characters into this. It seems at the start of it, Harry's the main character.
Yes.
Right? And when we get to the second question, what does Harry want, or what do any of these characters want? Is there anything that stands out to you as a kind of what they want?
Well, Dumbledore.
Yeah, which makes you think Dumbledore. What does Dumbledore want to do?
He wants to go out, find Voldemort, and kill as many other people as he can.
Yes, I wonder why. Well, okay, so why? So that's what they want to do. Why can't they get it? We haven't really gone too far into it, but we could imagine a story expanding from this, like Dumbledore for some reason, like, so you're still in my bedroom, Dumbledore, said Harry. And then it goes on to say, Dumbledore crashed through the window and flew into the night with the intention of finding Voldemort and killing as many people as he could.
You know, the funny thing is, because I've made quite a few of these now, every time Dumbledore is so violent.
Wow. Really? So the AI will often, more than half, like 80% or so, a large percentage of the time,
something like that, yeah,
attributes violent,
to
villainous
Dumbledore.
Actions to what is considered to be the, the kind of, what do you think?
It's like how Hagrid said, Hagrid? I forgot who Hagrid was.
Who was Hagrid?
The gamekeeper.
Oh, the gamekeeper.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Oh, yeah, Hagrid, the big giant, the half giant.
Yeah. He's quite aggressive in the movies, I'd say.
He is, yeah, and he's a character you could imagine having a darker side. Somewhat.
Well, you can.
Yeah. Whereas Dumbledore, the principal, yes, he does behave a little weirdly at times, like that.
Says calmly.
Yeah, he says calmly in this. So, yeah, he does attribute calm actions to him. But, yes, Dumbledore wanting to kill. And I guess this is the thing that makes the AI text really leap out as interesting, that it's doing something that no normal writer would do in their fan fiction. That is suddenly have Dumbledore as a murderous wizard.
Yeah.
Which is liberating. It's like, wow. finally we get the truth about who Dumbledore really is. All this time, I'd suspected he's actually behaving quite villainously, because there is that scene where Harry's got to
Why did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?
That's right, the Goblet of Fire, right?
Dumbledore said calmly.
Yeah, kind of villainous in a way, right? You could read that kind of villainously that Harry's name was put in there and the way Dumbledore reacts to it. Yet it's kind of a setup. It's kind of gaslighting in a way. Let's just keep going with this character destruction. Okay, so that's very interesting. What do they do about it? How doesn't that work? How does it end? How does it end? It ends quite nicely, I think.
It ends with Ireland, which is a nice place. I've been there.
Harry struggled a laugh and practiced falling to sleep. What's the joke, said Ron. And that works really well, because we know Harry's laughed, and then Ron and the AI gets it. AI says, Ron says, what's the joke? Weirdly, then, Mrs. Norris pops up and says, Ireland. Wow. Wow. Which does make you think, what am I missing out on here? What's happened before? What's happened after? Is she a kind of anti-Irish? There's a kind of politics there. And then you could go into the whole depth of the UK's relationship with Ireland. Like, is this a political text now?
Yeah, a political text that's been pushed forward by a cat.
That's right, Mrs. Norris is the cat.
Yeah.
That's right. Because it's the groundskeeper, not the groundskeeper, the other guy has Mrs. Norris, right?
That's true.
Wow. All right, let's go back and hear a little bit what Glenn would say about all this.
Come on, Glenn, where are you?
All right, so we'll hear a little bit about Glenn's theory about writing just to cleanse our palate.
Yeah, we need that.
The obstacles don't have to be external. The obstacle can be, I'm really afraid of the train station. I need to get this suitcase to my uncle, and he's going to be at the other end of the train, so I've got to get this suitcase onto the train, but I'm terrified of loud noises. That's a story. The only obstacle is in there, but it's real. So every character is facing obstacles. The obstacles don't have to be physical. They don't have to be another character. They just have to be something that's getting in the way of them trying to accomplish something that's important to them.
I think the next example might set this up a little better.
Okay, yeah.
So let's listen to the next example of the Harry Potter AI and see if we can discern some of those key questions that are being asked about a good story.
Chapter 2, Two Muggers.
Hold on. Chapter 2, Two Muggers. So, hey, where did the chapter titles come from?
Well, for these particular ones, I did input a particular phrase. I put in chapter 1, and then whatever it had, I put as the next thing.
Wow. So the AI created something leading on from your phrase,
Just
chapter
1, and then a semicolon.
Two muggers, a weapon, and a natural ham.
Yes.
And those words were already there? How did you choose those words?
That was the next sentence.
All right, two muggers, a weapon, and an unnatural ham. And you shifted that into chapter 2.
Yes.
And do you think that changed what the AI did next? In terms of who's about?
No, I don't think so.
All right, but here we have a beautiful AI voice reading the AI script, AI Harry Potter. AI.
A weapon and an unnatural ham. In the morning, Harry insect into the great hall. He paused for a moment at the Ravenclaw table and retreated back a few steps. He bent down, picked up his pockets, and pulled his clothes off backwards. The students forced a laugh. Harry was disappointed. He had expected them to bleat. In anger, he pointed his wand at Hermione and set her on fire, before looking back at Ron, his mouth sliding all over his face. Hermione's shrill beak widened in a deafening roar, and she rattled into a milk jug. Harry's scar was sliding around now. "What's up with you then?" Ron muttered. Harry said nothing. Harry was no longer a wizard. He was a bullfrog, but he was very pretty. Ron carried the mudblood outside and pulled a book from his forehead. Several wild beards in pajamas flexed their smooth palms at him as they stood in the driveway. Harry is terrible, said Ron. Why? Asked Hermione, faintly. I'm afraid, said Ron, and I've been hiding from him. That's enough, said a cold, thin voice that raised Ron's socks. And there he was, covered in blood, his scar burning red, his eyes flashing, his legs trembling. There were Dementors everywhere, clanking and diving with pockets full of cat food. My name's not Harry, said Harry. It's H.A.R. Roger the Budge.
That's great. I mean, this one holds up, I think, quite well around 6 questions of storytelling.
Yeah.
Right? We have a clear character and an end.
That's true, yeah.
Of it. So, okay, well, let's... So who is this about?
Harry.
Yep, I think this one is clearly Harry. It starts with Harry in the morning. Weirdly, it says Harry insected, like an insect. Ed. Into the Great Hall, right? So we have Harry appears, right? Scene 1, Harry appears. And then we have a little bit of interaction with Ron. Then we have some interesting character development for Harry as he becomes a bullfrog, but very pretty. And then Ron is kind of talking about that experience with Harry.
Yeah.
And being afraid. And then we see in the last sentence, Harry appears. So it ends in this very chilling cliffhanger point. I mean, the AI probably didn't have that as complete as you've revised it up. How close was that in the AI's first draft?
Well, in terms of the things like, I actually looked up. So he was a bullfrog, but he was very pretty. I did look up what the original one came from, and it was, but he was very pretty was something that was in the book, but it wasn't a bullfrog. I think, if I remember correctly,
the original J.K. Rowling book.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. So is there a bullfrog in the J.K. Rowling book?
There would be, but not in this context.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So the book the AI made, has mention of the bullfrog that it picked up from J.K. Rowling somehow, and has put it in as, I mean, I think it's quite a chilling scene actually when it says Harry said nothing. Harry was no longer a wizard; he was a bullfrog, but he was very pretty.
Very much so.
Really chilling.
Very surprisingly, there were Dementors everywhere, clanking and diving with pockets full of cat food. That had nothing to do with my sort of like creative process with this. That was a direct quote that it came up with.
That was pure AI,
wizardry.
Yeah, because it's, again, wonderfully evocative. Dementors everywhere clanking and diving. And you think, clanking, that's weird. But then you understand, it's because their pockets are full of cat food.
Yeah.
Which is weird, but that's where the kind of forensic fandom comes in. It's like, oh, okay, maybe then Dementors have cats. Isn't that unusual?
That's true.
Or maybe they use the cat food because they can't process other food. They eat cat food.
There we go.
I'm going to update the Wikipedia entry for Dementors immediately. All right, so we've got who's it about, what do they want? Do we have any sense of what characters want in this?
Well, Harry wants to scare them, I suppose.
We could attribute some... I mean, he's more like a kind of Friday the 13th Freddy Krueger character. Yeah, I mean, we could say he wants to, we don't know why, but I'd say Ron obviously is afraid and has been hiding. So
that's true, yeah.
We have a good attribution of what Ron wants. He wants to hide from Harry. Why can't they get it? Why can't Ron ultimately hide from Harry? Because because he's like Freddy Krueger at this point. Harry
I
is.
suppose, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing this more like a Friday 13. Why can't I get it? So what do they do about it? Oh, we don't know yet. Why doesn't it work? Well, we could see. Basically, we could see at the end of this, it does set up your classic, Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Teenage
a la
horror.
Harry Potter. And it ends nicely. Yeah, my name's not... What did you think about the ending? My name's not Harry, said Harry. It's Harr...
Roger the Budge.
Roger the Budge. Roger the Budge. Does Roger the Budge come up any further in the original AI
Unfortunately,
piece?
no.
Yeah, and Roger the Budge is not a character in J.K. Rowling's source material.
But those words do exist within it.
Roger and the and Budge.
Yeah.
They do. They just have not been put together that way. And also they've not been put together. It's weird that it's capital H, capital A, capital R, Odger.
The Budge.
Roger.
The Budge.
I was really interested to see what the AI would make of that, and it just spells it. H-A-R, like an acronym. H-A-R, Roger, like HP Puff and stuff. It's just, H-A-R is the abbreviation of his first three names, obviously, and Roger, H-A-R, Roger the Budge.
But here you see him blossoming as well. It's like, my name's not Harry, said Harry. It's Roger the Budge. He's chosen his new name.
Look, and it does set itself up so nicely as a kind of Act One moment of like, wow, what's going to happen next? Or it could be the end act of the first movie. Cliffhanger,
yeah.
Oh my God, Harry has ascended into H.A.R. Roger the Budge, who obviously is a bullfrog, but very pretty and no longer a wizard. It's really interesting, the kind of radical shifts in gear change. I mean, I'd say this one very much horror. Did you find that in terms of genre, as you were reading the original AI, it did lend itself more to surreal horror?
Not so much, actually. Well, apart from the fact that Dumbledore is obviously off somewhere killing someone, usually, when I'm reading through it. But no, I just sort of like pick things out and see what happens, where it goes, I guess.
Yeah, look, and it is intriguing, I think. I mean, what I find so fascinating about it is as you're listening to it, the human mind making sense of it. So your first read over the original AI would have been making that heavy lifting of kind of like, yeah, I think I understand this. All right, let's bring in this part here. I mean, you haven't rewritten much in terms of the rewriting process. How would you define that?
How would I?
Yeah, you haven't like added like half of it as your
own.
Oh,
no.
This is pretty much mostly the AI piece, and you've kind of polished it for grammar, clarity.
All of it has been.
All of it is the AI.
All of it has been written by the AI. It's just the sequence, I guess, has been changed.
Some of it has been cherry picked from other spots.
Yeah,
and look, it'd be interesting because again, what we want to do next is set up a Superman story based on Superman radio dramas to see if how a piece might look that attributes specific dialogue to characters. I guess. But
it also has sort of like a logic in this particular piece that is just wrong, just slightly. So it's like, that's enough, said a cold, thin voice that raised Ron's socks.
Oh, yeah. So instead of that kind of raise the hair on the back of his neck.
Yeah, is what it probably should be.
It's still, which is very artistic, it's still wanting to gesture to, wants a phrase in English that explains bodily the sensation of fear. Instead of hair on the back of the neck stands up, it's the, so what is it again? It's the socks. Oh, yeah. Thin voice that raised Ron's socks. So we imagine the thin voice isn't supernaturally raising the socks. It's metaphor of Ron's socks in this world means hair on the back of your neck is standing up. It's fear.
Correct. But what about several wild beards in pajamas flexed their smooth palms at him? Have you ever seen that before?
It's almost like a Tennyson poem or a Wilfred Owen World War I poem of that kind of onomatopoeia, right? We've got a lot of flexed, the smooth palms. You've got that kind of interesting rhythm. It's kind of poetic at that point. It's dream logic. Obviously, pajamas flexing smooth palms. You know, the image in your head struggles to calibrate. But yeah, it is evocative. Beards in pajamas flex their smooth palms. It's a bit like the Disney Fantasia movie.
Yeah.
At that scene. Well, if what I think I'd like to do is play this every week, the same sequence, and just really let it sink in, because I do feel on repeated listenings, this will make more sense. So I think every week we'll throw in some new stuff. Well, in fact, what we'll do is I want to play just as a part cleaner, an actual professional now doing radio drama. So we'll play the start of The Hitchhiker, a classic Orson Welles suspense drama, just to see what a non-AI bit of storytelling can be like in its establishing scenes. So there's a little bit of dialogue at the start of this with Orson Welles explaining his personality and his invitation to come up to do this. And we'll keep this going for the next few weeks as well with Hitchhiker. But let's listen to how an actual radio drama works now.
Sounds good.
With The Hitchhiker.
The Columbia Network takes pleasure in bringing you Suspense. Suspense, Columbia's parade of outstanding thrillers, produced and directed by William Spear and scored by Bernard Herrmann. The notable melodramas from stage and screen, fiction and radio, presented each week to bring you to the edge of your chair, to keep you in suspense.
Good evening. This is Orson Welles. I'm very happy I am to be back in the United States and back on the Columbia Network, even for so short a visit as this one. Back with old friends like Johnny Dietz, who is tonight's director, and Bernard Herrmann. The Mercury Theater presented tonight's radio play for the first time last year. We came right out then and hailed it as a classic of the medium. Nobody argued the point. A lot of people asked us to do it again, so it's gratifying to get the chance now and to find a favorite of ours in this distinguished anthology of spook shows. Personally, I've never met anybody who didn't like a good ghost story, but I know a lot of people who think there are a lot of people who don't like a good ghost story. For the benefit of these, at least, I go on record at the outset of this evening's entertainment with the sober assurance that although blood may be curdled on this program, none will be spilt. There's no shooting, knifing, throttling, axing, or poisoning here. No clanking chains, no cobwebs, no bony and/or hairy hands appearing from secret panels, or, better yet, bedroom curtains. If it's any part of that dear old phosphorescent foolishness that people who don't like ghost stories don't like, then again, I promise you, we haven't got it. Not tonight. What we do have is a thriller. It's half as good as we think it is. You can call it a shocker. It's already been called a real Orson Welles story. Now, frankly, I don't know what this means. I've been on the air directing and acting in my own shows for quite a while now, and I don't suppose I've done more than half a dozen thrillers in all that time. Honestly, I don't think even that many, but it seems I do have a reputation for the uncanny. Quite possibly, a little escapade of mine involving a couple of planets, which shall be nameless, is responsible. Doesn't really matter. Don't think I disapprove of thrillers. I don't. A story doesn't have to appeal to the heart. It can also appeal to the spine. Sometimes you want your heart to be warmed, and sometimes you want your spine to tingle. The tingling, it's to be hoped, will be quite audible as you listen tonight to The Hitchhiker. That's the name of our story, The Hitchhiker. I'm in an auto camp on Route 66, just west of Gallup, New Mexico. If I tell it, perhaps it'll help me. Keep me from going crazy. I gotta tell this quickly. I'm not crazy now. I feel perfectly well, except that I'm running a slight temperature. My name is Ronald Adams. I'm 36 years of age, unmarried, tall, dark, with a black mustache. I drive a 1940 Buick, license number 6Y175189. I was born in Brooklyn. All this I know. I know that I'm at this moment perfectly sane. That it's not me who's gone mad. It's something else. Something utterly beyond my control. I've got to speak quickly. At any minute, the link may break. This may be the last thing I ever tell on Earth. The last night I ever see the stars. 6 days ago, I left Brooklyn to drive to California.
Goodbye, son. Good luck to you, my boy.
Goodbye, Mother. Here, give me a kiss.
All right, wow, gosh, it was getting a bit racy there with a kiss, so I thought I'd stop it immediately. Woof. Apologies for those out there who are of a weak disposition. Anyway, I do feel like Orson Welles, The Hitchhiker, does establish very clearly who it's about, and and it's only the first act. So again, we're hearing that here's a guy obviously concerned for his sanity, right? Something's happened. We're about to hear something in the next 25 minutes that has caused this character to be very troubled about their sanity. So we'll see what unfolds. And again, maybe we should be similarly charitable to the AI cases we've been reading, because those have been quite short as well.
But something that I found interesting during that is that it was quite jarring to go from the AI pieces, listening to that, to an actual properly structured story, which I think is also true the opposite way around, of course, as well. Yeah. Well, look, I do think these are all just conventions, right? I mean, in terms of the jarringness of going from a dream logic piece to a well-structured piece of writing shows that we've been indoctrinated in a way, or cultured in a way of understanding the conventions of what a storytelling is, right? So we hear someone's voice, and this setting up what we know are various tropes for Act One, right? So they're establishing who their character is. They're establishing their relationship with others. We have here, just as I've cut off, obviously the introduction with the mother that he kisses, which is awkward. Possibly. It's fine to kiss a mum. Sorry. Don't know why my mind went elsewhere. Possibly because of the dream logic sequences. There we go.
Moving on. But again, these are conventions. These are conventions. If we look at, previous centuries of writing, Gilgamesh, if we try and read the original Gilgamesh, in the original, translated text into English, we might still find it frustrating to read because it's not conforming to contemporary, post-war writing practices. Shakespeare as well, you need to understand some of the writing techniques and conventions that were operating in those days to understand why the setup is like it is, why the act structure is playing out like it is. So these are all conventions, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Tomorrow creeps in this petty place from day to day.
Nice. It's getting close to that feeling of saying, is the AI pieces that we're creating evoking that idea of the cliche of putting 1,000 monkeys in a room, and if you let them write for long enough, they'll eventually write a Shakespeare piece.
The complete works of Shakespeare.
Yes, it's the cliche. So it's similarly, in a way, this is what our errand is with our texts that we're creating through the AI. Will we stumble across the AI creating actually something which is genius?
Probably not.
Yeah. And I guess, this is a journey that we're about. This is the question we're raising. As we begin to create more AI pieces for this, listen with us as we might create something quite good.
Well, it's entertaining at least.
Yes, hopefully, if nothing else, entertaining. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. So this has been Dr. Craig, joined by Lord Taylor, and our guest, Ronan.
Hi.
Master Ronan. On Media Mothership here on Edge Radio. Show notes are going to be available via the episode description on YouTube and Twitch, as well as this comes out on podcast. Next week, we're going to iterate a little further with the AI Harry Potter fanfic, but I'm going to get some more interviews with famous writers talking about their craft to interrogate the AI produced material through. unfairly or not. And we'll also cleanse our palates. I like that phrase, palate cleanser, with the further story of Orson Welles' classic, The Hitchhiker Story. You can listen to previous episodes on YouTube, Twitch, and at edgeradio.org.au, or your podcast provider of choice. Find out more about Media Mothership on Facebook, Instagram, and now the new Discord channel. Taylor, would you like to say anything about the Discord?
We've got a new Discord channel.
Yeah. It features a number of shows on Edge Radio. There's Media Mothership, of course, and the show coming up next, K-Pop Unlimited.
Sounds like a good show.
It's going to be fantastic. So keep listening to that. So on Discord, you can come and join us. You can get an invitation link on the Media Mothership Facebook or Instagram page, or contact us directly via the Edge Radio website, edgeradio.org.au. If you've enjoyed listening to this pop culture deep dive, also check out Edge Radio's Millennial Think with Hannah and Miranda every Wednesday at 10 a.m. and Pop Topic Taz on Wednesday at 11 a.m., which talks about everything from cosplay, video games, art, music, and much more. So keep listening now to Edge Radio, because coming up next... Sorry, I got to go to the other side of the desk. Coming up next is K-Pop Unlimited with Taylor and the rest of us.
Yeah.